The case against markets. If anything has been established as true, at least in the Western Hemisphere, it is the centrality of markets. There is little that is as sacrosanct as the demand/supply equation. Two of the most pivotal books in the world are Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations and Karl Marx's Capital. Both extol the virtues of the market, yet their analysis and conclusions could not be more different. From these books, we derive the division of political agendas into right and left. However, the fact that Smith wrote his book as a way to explain how wealth was formed only for Marx to point out the issues of capitalism and how to fix them using a public market ought to make us consider whether either was right. History has shown us that far from correcting the flaws of capitalism, communism simply created its own problems. But look at the assumptions of markets. The basic assumption is that supply and demand is a good thing. Capitalism assumes the individual is the best source of both. It is the individual who ought to express demand, and it is the individual who ought to be responsible for regulating supply. This is an irrational assumption or unrealistic responsibility to lay upon individuals. It treats individuals as if they were mechanical sensors. The truth is, humans have little ability to respond to either supply or demand. No matter how many dollars are provided for jobs, jobs cannot be supplied in the quantity wanted, nor can gold or anything else. Indeed, by spending money to create jobs, the government disrupts the level of demand for many other things. It can be argued that this is the state interfering in the market, but actually this is still one person who makes the initial decision, and it is still individuals who concede the policy. The difference between public policy and private decision-making is the people who make the choices. All choices are necessarily made by individuals. It makes sense to say that the state ought not take money from individuals so as to make spending decisions for them, or to make laws that interfere with the freedom to make the spending decisions they wish. But then why does a capitalist have the right to decide how much people will be paid or what they ought to produce? It is a private choice in terms of the capitalist, but only in a distorted sense because capitalism does not exist without the power of the state. The myth of free will. Much of what is called capitalism is predicated on the idea humans have free will. Free will is proportional to stupidity and inversely proportionate to intelligence. An all-knowing being has no free will because he would know what move will bring about perfection, which is the only possible goal of life. The fool playing chess makes random moves. All possible moves to a person ignorant about chess is as good as the next. The highly intelligent skilled player of chess will narrow down the possible moves to a few, if not just one. Nothing like this happens in a market. Every choice is open-ended, meaning the outcome is unknown. A person might buy stocks or a product in a company on the verge of bankruptcy. He may get a job in a business that is undergoing a police investigation. The point is, a market to truly be functional requires people with infinite knowledge. You have a finite amount of resources and a finite amount of time. As a buyer/seller, you need to make the best possible choices, but you have no means of doing this. What is more, there are many people out there whose only interest is in leading you astray. They benefit from your poor choices. Therefore, it is in the best interest of the seller to confound the buyer everywhere possible and to sell you his product and service on image more than substance. But those who do ministry want you to make the right choice. There is no benefit to a ministry to lead anyone astray. A priori ministry puts the focus on creating the fruits of the Spirit, the fruits of faith. The fruits of faith in the Bible are good works, obedience to God, and the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit are the elements of a good character. But if we have faith, the Bible tells us we have good works. Good works produce things of value. This makes for a prosperous economy. All of this is hampered by the market. The market does not care if you do good works or if you have the fruit of the Spirit. The market only cares if you have something to sell. It is immaterial as to what that is. Technically, the seller creates something of value and offers it on the market. If the price is too high, the consumer will not purchase it. If the price is too low, the seller loses potential income. So, the focus is on creating the highest possible price at which a sale can be made. This is called pricing at whatever the market will bear. There are two world systems. One was the result of man's disobedience and is built on what Satan provided. Its key component or element is the market. Jesus was offered this world and its systems if he would worship Satan. Jesus declined. But this system still exists, and every person on the planet for 6,000 years has supported it, and work to make it better without questioning the foundation on which it is built. The market did not exist in the way it exists now, but it is what has developed and what has made the world into what it is today. Mission ultimately exists to change this system into one built solely on Scripture. This world is in a spiritual war and the devil is winning because he has defined the rules under which we operate. He won't win because his system is falling apart. But his minions, the experts of this system, work hard trying to find ways to make it last a few more years. I am not interested in helping the devil keep his world going. I want to destroy it. I want it to fall apart. Sorry for those hurt by this policy, but the solution to the problems of this world's system exists. Too few wish to embrace it. However, I am not interested in helping anyone make this present system more tolerable. This system is predicated on the market and the mechanisms of the market, which turn us all into economic actors. We exist as buyers and sellers, a type of economic schizophrenia. We must have something to sell. That can be anything that the market has a demand for. The pivotal point is the cost of delivery. The cost of the product must be higher than the delivery cost. That is the only consideration the market has. One must make a profit. Tension is created between buyer and seller because the seller wants the highest possible price and the buyer wants to pay the lowest possible price. To find buyers, because the market has no boundaries or conditionalities, the seller is pushed into an ever more extreme position, willing to lie, steal, and break the law or his or her moral principles to be profitable, and once profitable, to acquire ever greater profits at an ever-increasing rate. The only way to counter this is through a ministry. A priori an apologetic is a ministry to the people of God that feeds them by means of good works which, over time, eliminates market mechanisms. By ministering to the people of God, we eliminate the market system in which we are now embedded. If we truly feed the sheep, we will not be utilizing the market system. Markets are all about competition, about each seller attempting to make the most income he can and every buyer trying to make the best deal he or she can. But remember, there are no actual buyers and sellers. There is just people living their lives exchanging the products of their hands and minds. A ministry deals with the person where he is and with what he or she has. It is the ministry that provides the jobs and the goods and the services. The ministry is always seeking to find a better job for their following. The ministry also works to lower prices for its membership. Anyone can start an a priori ministry and begin the process of eliminating markets by doing works of faith that bring believers together ecumenically. A priori ministry binds believers together in works of faith to produce the fruits of faith, which we see as prosperity.